You served in the U.S. Army for 6 years and spent 13 months in Iraq in 2008 and 9. Can you tell the story of why you joined the Army and what were some of the moving, difficult, and maybe lasting experiences from the time you served?
Sure. I joined when I was 17 years old. I needed my parents to basically sign in order to join. And I'd graduated a semester early from high school and thought I was going to go play football in college and kind of enroll in the spring semester. And when that didn't happen, I basically was working at Chick-fil-A and Quiznos and had in my mind, look, this is probably not the path in life that I want. And so I knew I was going to go to college. I knew I was going to go play football in the fall, but I had this window of time. And so I walked into a recruiting office and just basically was like, I'm assuming you guys need some help. And, they gave me the whole pitch and, give you a signing bonus. You can go jump out of planes and go do all this crazy stuff. I just said, okay, let's do it.
This was close to 9/11.
This was in 2006, about 5 years after.
So what impact, do you remember 9/11? What impact did that have on your thinking about this?
So I was in 8th grade, if I remember correctly. And I remember being in school when it happened. And I walked into a classroom and the entire class, somebody else's class, they were all talking to the teacher about something. The second that me and a couple other kids walked in, everyone got real quiet and the teacher was like, hey, go back to your homeroom. And so it was just kind of a weird, what's going on? And then next thing I know, they called all of the students into the cafeteria. And this is back before, every classroom really had a television in it and, cable and all that kind of stuff. And so when we were there, they basically just said, listen, there's been this event that's occurred. All of your parents are going to come pick you guys up and they'll explain it to you. And so to, a kid in 8th grade, you're basically like, what happened? And so I got home and I remember talking to my dad about it. And my dad basically gave me, the core American kind of talking points, right? Look, somebody from another country came here and tried to kill Americans and was successful in doing that. And to some extent, he just said, and I'm willing to bet, we're going to go back after him.
Did that wake you up a little bit to the idea that there's evil out there, that, even just the idea of terrorism for many people, that was, when it hits you on your own land, it really shakes up your mind. In some sense, World War II, that's why World War II was fundamentally different for Americans than it is for the people like in Russia and England and France and in Europe in general. There's something about when there's families, women, children dying on your own land, that's different. And that was one of the first times in America where on your, of course, it's Pearl Harbor, but this is in recent history, it's they hit us here. That was a profound idea.
I think America was very, very good at exporting the violence elsewhere for a long time. And there was this element of complacency, but also this element of, really just American superiority that doesn't happen here. Right. And I think that woke people up not only to kind of the idea that other places around the world may not like the American ideals, may not like democracy and capitalism and that, but also maybe we aren't as big, tough, and secure as we thought we were. Right. And so obviously I think you see the kind of the over rotation with a lot of the kind of security theater that came after that of almost psychologically, let's make our citizens feel like they're safe, even if the things that we're doing don't necessarily, kind of change that apparatus. But on top of that, I think that it really woke people up to extremism around the world. And I don't know if necessarily there was a change in the extremism as much as it just was an awareness thing, right? Yeah. How many people, kind of drew a line from, was it 92 or 93 with the World Trade Center bombing to, deep levels of extremism and hatred of kind of the American industrial complex? Probably not that many. 2001, a lot of people. And so I think that was, again, as a young kid, you don't understand a lot of this stuff. You basically just, hey, somebody came here and tried to kill Americans. And so, we should go fight back, right? Was kind of the response I think that I had.
What role did that have psychologically for you when you then in 2006 joined the Army? This is a very different joining the Army than in a time when it's more peaceful. Here you're essentially facing, I don't know if you see it that way, but there is a war on terror. And I know that people kind of criticize that whole formulation framework of thinking, but nevertheless, you are going to Iraq, you are going to Afghanistan, you're going to these places and are fighting these complicated, like, I mean, it's not even clear what you're fighting.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's a couple of key pieces, right? So one of the actual most impactful data points, if you were, or kind of stories for me, was the Pat Tillman story. So I played football in high school. I knew I was going to go play in college. And seeing, this NFL player who basically just one day said, "Hey, I'm going to go and do this instead," and walk away. I don't know necessarily if it was I want to pursue the same story, right? And obviously he ended up dying, and so not exactly the end result that you want. But I think it was almost like he made it okay if you were on a certain trajectory in life to go take this detour and to go do it. But the second thing is, I was 17. You're pretty stupid when you're 17. You're pretty naive when you're 17, right? And so I almost kind of backed into the deployment because I signed up as a reserve member. And so basically the plan was to sign up for the reserves. I was going to go to basic training, get all the, kind of education and qualification. I was going to go to college. And then after college, maybe there's a chance that you will go and serve or do whatever. Mm-hmm. For me, I ended up getting deployed when I was a junior in college. Literally got pulled out of school. And so at 20 years old, it's not exactly what you thought you were signing up for, right? Especially to kind of leave school to go do it. And then on top of that, I probably had an advantage over most people, both on the entry to combat and the exit to kind of a combat situation, which was football. So I always explain that in hindsight, you're in a male-dominated, testosterone-driven kind of combative sport where it's us versus them, and there's training and injuries and just kind of all of the things that go into playing a combat sport like football. To now they give you guns, but you still have a uniform on. It's still male-dominated. It's just a little bit more serious in terms of the injuries and potential death and things like that. But also on the exit from that deployment, most guys I was there with, they're going back to being, prison guards, police officers, working at the lumber yard, just kind of everyday Americans. And so I had the fortunate ability to go back into kind of that combative environment, go back to play football. And so it was almost this like de-escalation on the way out where they take your guns away. We still got a uniform, still male dominated, still combative. And then eventually you're just a normal citizen. And so I think that in some weird way, I was, very fortunate to kind of on the entry and exit have that experience where other guys didn't.